Thank you, Gary Wycliffe, for code 254, and God willing indeed, let's see you tomorrow, and it will be Kuzasha, and after the entertainment sessions that we've had in Good Morning Kenya, we want to look at issues that affect you and I directly, and those are issues to deal with taxation. Where are we as a country? That those and majority of Kenyans feeling, listen, you are being overtaxed. With me in studio is William OJONYO. I want to believe I got the name right.
Yes, you did.
And is the Chief Executive Officer of Keynote Logistics. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
And the whole question of taxation, and before even we talk about the specific taxation bill, how do you make of the whole situation? Because the feeling by Kenyans that listen, we seem to be under the current regime being overtaxed, and things are not that right as we expected.
Well, you see, overtaxing is relative because you want to ask yourself, what is being taxed where? That is what is important when you are talking about taxation. Mm-hmm. I want to say more specifically as a tax expert in issues of customs, that yes, we could be paying the highest in the region, because the only comparison we want to have is probably Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and Burundi in the region, and maybe even over to Rwanda, to Congo and up South Sudan and Sudan. We are being taxed the highest. But I guess that is because we are the highest economy, nevertheless. What we want to say is that with this economy, with the current situation, it will not help much to tax more. That is if we want to be taxed again. Mm-hmm. But certainly we pay more in taxes than any other partner state in the region. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the reason you say is because we are a big economy anyway in the region.
Well, I want to assume so, because I am not an expert in the bigger tax regime. Mm-hmm. I am an expert in customs tax regime.
In customs taxes. Yes. And that's why I want to look at the specific tax bill. And many are apprehensive. In fact, let's contextualize this specific tax bill. When you talk about specific tax bill, what does it imply?
There are two types of taxation. One taxation is called ad valorem. Ad valorem is where you use a percentage of the value. It's called a transactional value. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want to tax will be against a percentage. That is what is encouraged by WTO. That is what is encouraged by World Customs Organization, and many other treaties that we are signatories to as a country. Mm-hmm. But again, we are also allowed under the same WTO and these other treaties to have specific taxes. Specific taxes are where you are given a flat rate against a specific commodity. Mm-hmm. Now, there are reasons why these two regimes are applied. When you do ad valorem, you are basically doing what everybody else is doing in the world. When you do specific taxes, then you are doing a deterrent kind of taxation, punitive for lack of a better word. So specific taxes are meant to be punitive. I want to give you an example. In Chapter 55 of our tariff book, we have a specific tax on clothes and clothing. And this is because we were trying to protect Kikomi then, Rivertex then, and the new clothes, and trying to discourage bringing in of mitumbas. Because then it was going to, mitumbas come with diseases, mitumbas must be fumigated, and so on and so forth. So we were protecting the common man by introducing that tax, that specific tax. And apart from that, we were also protecting the local industry. I'll give you another.
But before you give me the other example, when you talk about the specific tax, and then you talk about the tariff book, and talk about the clothing, because we had a specific tax, the question will be, with all this kind of protection, why did Rivertex collapse, for example? Because after all, we had protected it.
I don't want to speculate, but every time you introduce a specific tax, it should be for a reason. Mm-hmm. And then when we were being told to start applying the specific tax on clothes and clothing, it was to protect Kikomi and to protect our industries. Why it collapsed, I may not know. It may be a management issue, but the protection was done. It is still done today. Mm-hmm. So if today you are having a local textile industry, you have no reason to complain. You are protected. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you wanted to allude to another example so that you
Yes,
justify
I wanted to allude to another specific tax example. That was on beers and cigarettes. It had a specific tax regime where you are told you have to pay 10 shillings for every liter, for example. That was being done especially to reduce alcoholism and to also protect Kenya Wines Agency, so that then we do not have too much competition. Mm-hmm. That is just one of the examples, or two of the examples. I would go on and on. The tires, for example, you cannot bring in old tires. There's a specific tax regime for that, and many more. And basically that is done to protect the industry. To protect the industry.
Yes. And if I listen to you well, you refer to alveorum, that's what you call?
Ad voleram.
Alveorum,
Yes.
Alveorum tax.
Yes.
Kind of system, as in fact you refer to what you call specific tax as being punitive. Yes. I was saying that alveorum yes. Kind of tax yes. is not punitive.
No, it's not punitive, because the world over there is something called the HS code. It is a harmonized system of taxation. Mm-hmm. Within that there is something called valuation. When you're doing valuation, when customs want to collect the world over, you know, customs is a world phenomenon. Mm-hmm. When you want to collect the world over, there are 6 rules that you have to adhere to. And rule number 1, in which you must start with, is called the transaction value. The transaction value is where you want to understand how much did you purchase that commodity that you want to tax from the buyer. So you are calculating duty against the value of purchase. Mm-hmm. That is what the world encourages, because then your muscle is taxed. And normally it is then a figure that is decided by a national government or a national regime. Mm-hmm. In the Kenyan case, it is 25%, for example, for motor vehicles. And then there is 20% for excise. Then there is 16% VAT. This is against a transactional value. This is called ad voleram kind of taxation. So there is nothing specific. You're not told you must pay this.
So when you talk about ad voleram kind of taxation, and I like the statistics, I'm enjoying it.
Thank you.
The 30% taxation that Kenyans are normally taxed, what determines? Because you remember there's, I think, that debate that came up one time where there was that feel that 30% of, is it the basic pay? Or those that Kenyans are exposed to, especially those who have some sort of pay slips, that amount is high. What determines that amount as well?
A bit different from what we are talking about, if you ask me, because that is now domestic taxes, mm-hmm. which is different from customs taxes.
Customs taxes.
Like I said, customs taxes are worldwide, but domestic taxes, like the word goes, is about a domestic regime.
Okay.
So that was against a domestic inquiry. But what we are talking about now is customs, which is worldwide.
So let's talk about the specific tax bill, and I remember you talked about the question of flats, talk about percentages. So how do you view the current specific tax bill in your own, from where you sit as an expert?
I'm clear in my mind that it is ill-informed. I am clear in my mind that it is ill-informed. Why do I say this? I want to take 2 examples. Example number 1 is on importation of used motor vehicles, mm-hmm. where initially, before the new bill came into play, the taxation was ad voleram, where you were to pay 25% import duty. Then you would pay 20% excise duty, and then pay 16% VAT. Mm-hmm. Then I want to say that the new regime, the new bill, is now clearly indicating that you pay 25% import duty and then pay a specific tax of 200,000 Kenya shillings for vehicles of 3 years and above, and 150,000 for vehicles of 3 years and below, and of course plus the 16%. Why do I say it is ill-informed? I want to take two examples of two types of cars. I want to take a Toyota Passo. You know how a Passo looks like?
We can use VITs.
Yeah, VITs.
Let's use VITs. I don't know why I prefer VITs, but let's use VITs.
We shall go
because
with the
it
VITs.
resonates well
Yes.
with maybe majority of us.
We'll go with the VITs.
Yes.
And then we will also go with choose a big car like a
Let's
Range
do
Rover.
Prado.
Prado.
Yeah, you can use Prado.
A Land Cruiser Prado.
A Land Cruiser, yes.
A Land Cruiser. Let's start with the Land Cruiser Prado. A Land Cruiser Prado in the old system would pay of 3 years and above, and I want to specifically go to 2008. A Land Cruiser Prado of 2008 would pay excise, import duty of about 280,000. It would also pay excise of 280,000, and it would pay VAT of about 300 and something thousand. So the total would be 700 and something thousand, between 600 and 700 thousand in collection. A VITS of 2008 would pay duty of 68,000 and excise duty of 68,000 and pay VAT of 98,000. So the total of a VITS would be about 202,000. And the total of a Prado would be about 600 plus thousand. Now, I want to concentrate on the excise because that is what we now have as specific taxes. Whereas the excise for a VITS was 68, for example, the excise for a Prado was 286. Now the excise of Prado has reduced to 200,000, and the excise for VITS has gone up to 200,000. So this has reduced by over 100,000, the Prado, and the VITS has gone up by about 103,000. So the total price of a VITS, if then was 550,000, the cost of importing a VITS, the cost now has gone to 700 plus thousand. Whereas the cost of bringing in a Prado then, plus the transaction value, would be about 2.2 million. Now it has come down to 2.1 million. So who, in your view, is being taxed more?
The VITs.
The VITs guy. Now, how many VITs do you see on the road against the Prados?
That's why I used VITs, because they're all over.
Yes.
But then why will this what would inform this kind of decision so that you come with this kind of bill and you want to levelize, you want to go for a flat kind of taxation system when you talk about this?
That is why I'm saying it was ill-informed. Because if you want to expand your tax base, then somebody said this, charge a little bit and make more sales. And therefore your basket will be more full. But if you charge so much, then you'll scare away your clients, right? So we are now in this regime scaring away the VITs client and doing so much harm to the VITs client, so much so that the people who then would have owned VITs cannot import VITs. But we're encouraging the big car importers. Because the rationale of having the ad valorem is that we shall tax your muscle. The VITs guy bought this car for $3,000, about 300,000. The Prado guy bought this car for about 2 million. And you are charging the Prado guy 200,000 and charging the VITs guy 200,000. Are you charging muscle here?
Is it one way of saying that, well, we don't want VITs on the roads, can we embrace Prado? Do you think it's a silent way of telling us so?
I don't want to think like that. I just think somebody did not think wider, because the idea was to help us collect more, because we are having a cash crunch. That was the reason we were given as customs agents, that we want to try and collect more. And this came from Treasury. And that's why I'm saying, from wherever it came from in Treasury, they did not interrogate the position on the ground.
But then you as experts, because I want to believe the Treasury also knows the reality on the ground. It does survey, it does reconnaissance, and before reaching some of these decisions, were you consulted as experts in formulation of this particular bill?
Yes, we were consulted by the importers, and we gave our view, and I think they took it to Parliament. And when they took it to Parliament, Parliament listened to them and decided that they should reduce the the specific tax, if they must have it, on the VITs and reduce it to 100,000, for example, on the 2 years and 3 years and below, and have the 200,000 on the 3 and above to 150. I think the wisdom then was to continue encouraging importation and take care of me and you who can only afford a VIT in this case. But unfortunately, that wisdom did not prevail. The Treasury wisdom prevailed. And you can take this to the bank. They will collect less. Because when you have a big car, you have to have the muscle to even have it to fuel it. So you will not expect that to be an incentive to the VIT man to now buy a Prado, because it's just beyond purchasing. It is about maintaining that car. It's about fueling that car. It's so much. So we shall have scared away the bigger collector, the bigger payer, and protected the smaller payer, although he's a bigger payer by virtue of 1 unit.
And now there's a bill. Parliament is yet to enact it into law. Stakeholders expressing concerns that, listen, this bill is not going to be helpful, especially to the low kind of people who want VITs. What happens, or what do you think what are the mechanisms you want to use to try and maybe seek some redress with respect to this bill?
Unfortunately, where I sit, I am not affected because I am just a customs agent. Mine is to help customs collect and to advise the importer. So what I'm doing now is to advise the importer that this is what you should expect in the coming month, for example. And unfortunately, to correct you, this bill has been passed by Parliament.
Various stages?
It has been passed. Various stages. Actually, it should be on the President's desk if it is not signed.
So it's just waiting assent to become law?
Assent. I'm not sure if it's already been ascended to, but the feeling on the ground is that it is coming. I don't want to equate to El Nino, but it's coming. It is coming.
It is coming. I'm told it also has implications for beer consumers and cigarette smokers.
Yes, this bill has an impact on cigarette smokers. It has an impact on beer consumers and juices. Well, the people I sympathize with most are the importers of motor vehicles and the juice consumers. I am one of them. Yes, of course, I don't sympathize so much with the cigarettes and beers because that's a luxury area.
It's a luxury area that we can always check on.
Well, I would say it is punitive to them so that they can reduce on the drinking, which would be a good thing. And if they have enough to pass to the economy, why not? They should collect even more. So I don't really have a problem with them. But I have a bigger problem with the juice takers and the car importers. But the idea is they will pay more. The prices will go up by more than 70%. Yeah.
And so what should be, as we bring this to an end, Mr. OJONYO, what should be the way forward? Here we are, assuming the President signs this into law. What happens to us?
I think we need to check. We need to recheck we need to recheck and ask ourselves if we have gone wrong. If somebody did not interrogate the impact enough, then let's go slow in it. Because in my view, it will not only affect the VITs and the likes owners, but it will affect our tax basket drastically. And we shall also look like we are protecting the rich against the moderate earners. I don't want to call them the poor, because for you to own a VIT, you're not exactly poor.
No, for you to own a VIT, it's also an indication of you can. Anyway, I understand where you're coming from.
And I would only urge us to look at this in a more proactive manner and not fight and not make noise about it, but rather go back and ask ourselves, what can we do, in my view, to collect better and to take care of this VIT's owner and the likes.
And the likes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, William Peter OJONYO, for getting time to be with us on Good Morning Kenya. We'll be watching, and I'll be interrogating and following this particular bill to see whether it's going to be signed into law. And should that happen, then I have to recall you so that we now look at posts enactment
Yes.
as maybe opposed to pre-enactment,
Right.
because it's a bill that we are saying it's likely before the president, and we'll confirm that. Thank you for getting time to join us on Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
William Peter OJONYO is the Chief Executive Officer of T-Not Logistics, and we've been talking about the specific tax bill that is more likely before the president, and of course saying that should that bill be enacted into law, then VITS owners are going to be equated to those who own Prado and pay custom duty taxes or something like that on an equal basis. Which way then do we go? Those answers will get them if that bill is enacted into law, and we should recall Mr. OJONYO to come and take us through what next should the bill be enacted into law. We're taking a short break, and when we come back, Samuel Njoroge and I will be here to wrap up this show for this week and prepare way for Kuzacha tomorrow, so stay tuned to the program.